Hello, good evening. I'll wait for Zoom to bring people in. And all right. How are we doing on time? It's 7:30. It's time to start. So today we're going to kind of do a yang and then yin kind of practice. So we will move and get ourselves moving, and then we'll hold some restorative poses at the end. So if you have some couch cushions or pillows, some throw blankets or beach towels, those will be useful. I've got a blanket, I've got a bolster, I've got a couple of yoga blocks. So you can improvise with what you have, but go ahead and go collect maybe 2 or 3 beach towels or firm couch pillows or folded blankets. We will hold a frog pose toward the end, which is kind of like you're going to have your knees wide. And so if your knees are sensitive, it might feel good to have a folded blanket or towel underneath those. So yeah, go ahead and collect your things. I'm going to adjust my lights and then we'll get started. And I've got bright socks on tonight. We will start seated with our actual movement, and I'm going to sit on a folded blanket to start. So you can grab your beach towel or edge of a cushion, pillow, whatever you've got. Have a seat and bring your sitting bones right to the edge of that. And then arrange your legs in a comfortable position. I like just to have one heel in front of the other, but you can have feet underneath your lower legs just to do kind of what feels most comfortable for you. But have a little bit of lift underneath your sitting bones and think about the space from your pubic bone to your tailbone being parallel with the floor so that your hips can be relaxed and your spine can be tall and long. And once you get yourself set up, just close your eyes and breathe. I've been reading some articles and studies about non-sleep deep rest. And it's kind of, the sterile scientific term that they use in studies. But basically, this is deep, guided relaxation where you're not sleeping, but you're consciously relaxing your body. And it is really crucial for our brains. It has as many benefits as actual sleep in letting our brains calm down and also in helping our brains cement any learning that we're doing. And so as we move through our practice and Then hold and relax in poses. Just realize that you're working with your body, your nervous system, your brain in a whole bunch of levels. Let your breath come down into your belly and start to find a slight constriction in the back of your throat so you can hear your breath as you breathe in through your nose with that whisper-like sound and breathe out through your nose with the whispery sound. In through your nose with sound and out of your nose with sound. So you can breathe in for 4 counts and out for 5 or 6. And breathe in 2, 3, 4, and then out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do that a couple more times. Just kind of do it at your own pace, but intentionally making your exhale longer. I'm thinking of expanding your lower rib cage to the back and the sides as you breathe in. And exhaling with sound. Let go of the effort of your breath. Just let it be easy and start to find some movement of your spine side to side. Just kind of moving your rib cage to the left and to the right. And then take it over to the left and then curve it back to the side and then over to the left and then open your heart to the front. So you're making a circle here with your rib cage. You can let your head follow in any way that feels intuitive and natural. And then go ahead and switch directions. As you go around. And then just pause. Bring your hands behind you and just prop yourself up on your fingertips or your palms. And then lengthen your legs out in a really kind of easy width in front of you. And just find some internal and external rotation of your legs. So you're moving right at your hip joint. You're not wagging through your ankle. This is happening up here. Just the whole length of your legs. And you can just kind of rock them in and out. You could let them go the same. But just find, almost like shaking, wiggling. Loosen up through your legs. And then slide your heels in and let your knees come up, and then just find that same internal, external rotation at your hip joints, but with your bent knees. Just kind of windshield wipering. And these don't need to be very big. Just keep your pelvis pretty stable, moving your knees from side to side. And then lengthen your spine, lengthen your legs out wider, still propping yourself up on your hands, and find just little internal, external rotation of your hip joints. And then sit tall, bring your hands to your sides, hands in front of you, And just find those same circles here that we did with our crossed legs. Really thinking of lengthening through your lower back so your tailbone's not tucking underneath you. And then switch. So if you need to bend your knees as you move, you can. Let your hands be free. You could have your hands on your legs. Just kind of warming through that fascial chain, through the whole length of your back body, your front body, with these fluid movements. Thinking about that kind of web-like connective tissue that wraps everything under your skin. After you've kind of circled both directions a few times, just bend your knees, bring them in, and we'll come to kneeling. Move your blanket out of the way and just sit on your heels if that's comfortable. If that's too much on your knees, you can bring your folded blanket on your calves between your knees. Reach your arms out in front of you and really think of spreading your shoulder blades apart as you reach your straight arms forward. And then take your straight arms and pull them back so your shoulder blades draw together. So think of this happening from your back body. Reach your arms forward and then draw them back. So you're protracting your shoulder blades as you reach forward and retracting shoulder blades as you reach back. Try to keep your low ribs down and just isolate this in your shoulder movement. And then find a neutral place and just internally rotate your arms and then externally rotate. So turn your backs of your hands to face each other, thumbs down, and then flip. Palms face up, and then turn your thumbs down to the outside. Just back and forth there, internal, external, kind of like we were doing with our legs now with our shoulders. And then take that up overhead. Now notice what happens if your lower back really wants to arch and your ribs splay out, then maybe bring your shoulders forward so that your lower ribs can stay down and you've got a neutral spine here. Internal and external rotation of those upper arms. Internal and external rotation. So backs of your hands face each other, and then you flip the other way and palms try to reach out. And now bring your arms out to a T, and same thing. Try to find that integrity in your spine so low ribs are not splaying apart. Low ribs settle in, and then internal and external rotation of those arms there. Just moving those shoulders. Hopefully you're feeling some heat. And then release. Bring your hands down in front of you. And we'll come into a little bit of a child's pose, but you can keep your blanket there if you've got it. You can take it out. But we're not going to fold down. Arms are straight. Okay. Ground through your left hand and then just reach your right arm up. Lead with your thumb and then internally rotate that hand. Make a big circle and bring the back of your hand by your right hip. And then lead with your thumb till you can't anymore. Then you can rotate around and swim your arm forward to where you started. Try to keep your pelvis stable and your rib cage stable as you just move through this shoulder. And then we'll switch sides. So you're just spinning or swimming. Lead with that thumb, internally rotate, and then reach back. And then lead with your thumb, externally rotate, and reach forward. Trying to keep your rib cage and your pelvis stable, just moving through your shoulder. And now we'll rest in our child's pose. So let your knees go wide And if you have your stack of blankets or a yoga bolster or some pillows, we'll find some support so you can really release into your child's pose. So I'm bringing this long yoga bolster in between my thighs. If you've got a stack of beach towels, you can kind of stack them so they're about this shape, and maybe even fold and roll one up toward the end so you have a place to rest your head. But let yourself just fold down. If you've got something high, you can bring your forehead to it and your head face down, or you can just turn one cheek to the side. But find a place where you feel some support and you can just relax. And we'll return to that breath that we started with. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 6. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 6. And if you can hear your breath, it's a really good anchor for your mind. But do it in a way that kind of draws your attention to your breath but doesn't create tension. You want attention, but not tension. And as you inhale, you might notice where you have any tension in your body. And as you exhale, just see if you can let go just a little bit. And go ahead and turn your head the other direction if you've got one cheek to your support, to your stack of towels or pillows. And just take a few breaths with your head in the other direction. Relax your shoulders and your face. And notice with your inhale how your diaphragm kind of reaches down into your belly and your pelvic floor mirrors that. And as you exhale, your pelvic floor lifts with your diaphragm. And they work in concert with each other. And go ahead and look forward. Come on out of your child's pose. Move your prop so it's perpendicular to your mat. Or if you have blocks, you can do this with blocks. We're going to bring our elbows down, have your knees over your hips, and then drop your head down between your biceps. You can even maybe bend your elbows and bring your hands behind. So your elbows are kind of on the edge of your stack of blankets or yoga blocks. So your head can kind of hang down. And you just have this passive stretch through your outer armpits and shoulders. Keep your hips high. Long exhales. And your spine is kind of just like a hammock here. Your sitting bones are the high point. And then your elbows are elevated, but your heart descends toward the floor. It probably won't reach the floor. And we'll just take one more breath here. Release the bend in your elbows. Come onto your hands and knees. And now bring your stack of blankets or beach towels closer to you. Bring your knees on top of this and then let your toes come to the floor. You can tuck your toes and then sit back on your heels. So we've got this broken toe stretch for the bottom of our feet, but we've got some support under our knees. Make sure you've got all your toes involved. And then soften those low front ribs down. Reach your arms overhead and bend your elbows, and you can just reach for opposite elbows. And you may notice that you'll want to exaggerate your low back curve and spread your low ribs apart. See if you can keep a neutral spine. As you kind of resist your elbows into your hands, soften your front low ribs down, but then broaden through your collarbones and reach your arms back. Just kind of find a balance there. And take one more breath. Release your arms. Just rock forward. You can have your knees still on your support and then wiggle out your feet. And then we'll come back into it. Tuck your toes, sit back on your heels. Low ribs down, reach your arms up. And just find that place to reach your arms that you don't want to splay your ribs out. So you don't have to bring your arms so far back that it creates that you're actually bending in your lower back, not you doing this in your shoulders. And see if you can grab your elbows the opposite cross of your forearms. So draw those low ribs in and push your forearms back. And then you can resist your hands into your elbows, elbows into your hands. Breathe into the fronts of your ankles and your shins and the bottoms of your feet. And then release your arms, bring your hands down and find some circles of your ankles. Just crawl your knees back off of your props, your stack of blankets or pillows, and move them out to the side. And just find your hands and knees, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And like we did kneeling earlier, kind of push your arms away so you spread your shoulder blades apart. And then draw those straight arms back in so you draw your shoulder blades together. And so move slowly and let this come just from your shoulders moving. So your spine is staying still. So think of those low ribs in. Your pelvis is still. You're just moving here through your shoulders. And next time you push the floor away, tuck your toes, and then just float your knees up off the floor, about an inch. And feel that in your core. Low ribs in, stable in your pelvis. And then just step your left foot forward and your right hand forward, and then left hand, right foot. Just tiny crawl. Keep your knees hovering, and then see if you can go back. So right hand, left foot, left hand, right foot, right hand, left foot. And we'll come back, just hovering those knees. And then from there, lengthen your hips up and back. Find a downward facing dog. You can pedal your feet out. You can step your feet back a little bit if you need to. And feel like you're pulling your forearms toward each other. And feel that stability in your shoulders. Come onto your tippy toes and rock yourself forward into a plank. And then bend your knees to hover above the floor. Push your hips back and up. Kind of making this wave-like motion, plank to that hovering knees, beast, and then hips up and back for downward dog. Do that one more time. And then lift your right leg up and back. And bend your knee. You can open your hip. And then kind of float some space underneath your left armpit. Now take your right knee in toward your chest. Step your foot forward between your hands and bring your left knee down. Feel like you're squeezing your left knee and your right heel toward each other to come up right into your high, or bring your torso up into low lunge and reach your arms high. Bring your right leg towards straight. Draw your hips back and find a fold. Maybe hands to hips, hands to thighs, fingertips to the floor. And just flow through that. So arms sweep up, bend your knee, straighten that right leg, and hinge at your hip crease. So you're not hinging at your lower back. And fold forward any amount. Just move there. And if this is a lot on that back knee, you can always pad it with one of your folded towels or blankets. Reach high. And now bring your fingertips to the floor in front of that right foot, just a little bit. Tuck your back toes if they aren't already. Push into your right heel. We'll lift that back knee up off the floor and then float your back leg and fold here into a standing split. Lift your left inner thigh up. And now bend both knees. You'll tap your left knee to the back of your right calf. And then lengthen back out into your standing split. And then bend both knees. Tap your left knee to the back of your right calf. And lengthen out. Do that one more time. And we'll come into a standing balance. So bring that left knee in toward your chest. You can bend into your right knee so you really feel your weight in that right heel. And let yourself get light on your fingertips. Float those fingertips up off the floor. See if you can come to standing with your left knee into your chest. You can reach high. And then maybe straighten that left leg straight out in front of you. And then just pendulum swing that left leg back and step. Ground into your heel. And then straighten your right leg. Bring your hands to your hips. So have your feet, so they're like on railroad tracks, not on a tightrope. So you could imagine you have a line down the right part of your mat, a line down the left part of your mat. Right foot's on that right line, left foot's on the left line. So your hips are square toward the short end. And then just play with opening and closing your hips. And opening and closing. And just feel that through your hip joints and your pelvis. And then find a place where you're stable with your hips pretty square. Lead with your heart and let yourself fold. You can bring your hands to your thigh. You bring your hands to the floor. If you have blocks and you need blocks, I actually am going to use my blocks. You can grab blocks to frame that front foot as you fold. Just find a place where you have some mobility in your pelvis. You're not locked up. You can have some freedom. And then keep your forward fold. Oh, sorry. And just pivot your hips from side to side. Sorry, you're just kind of shimmying hips from side to side. And then find a place where you're stable and square. Push into that right big toe ball mound. Draw your right outer hip back. Reach your heart forward. Stretch through that right hamstring. And then soften into your right knee. Bring your hands to your hips. And then come on up to standing. And shift yourself toward the long edge of your mat. Heels in, toes out. Bend through your knees and find a goddess squat. Bring your hands inside of your knees, the backs of your hands. And then soften those low ribs down. See if you can stack your shoulders over your pelvis. And then lengthen up. Parallel your feet. So outer edges of your feet parallel with the short edges of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips. Lead with your heart and let yourself fold. Soften your knees, lengthen through your spine when you're halfway. And then fold all the way down. Maybe hands to the floor or blocks. Let's take one more breath. And then walk your hands over to your left. And bring your right knee down. Just step back into a table here. Push the floor away and then let your shoulder blades come together. Do that a few times. And then pause with that pushing the floor away. Tuck your toes, hover your knees. Right hand, left foot, left hand, right foot. Just creep and then go back. With those knees hovering. Just feel this in your core. And then pause. Lift your hips up and back for your downward facing dog. Come up onto your tippy toes and rock yourself forward into a plank. And then bend your knees to hover. Push your hips back and up. Just find this waving dog again. And pause in your downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up and back. Bend your knee. You can open your hip. Maybe look underneath your right armpit. And square off your shoulders a little bit. Drop your left shoulder, lift up through your right armpit. And then step your foot between your hands. Bring your right knee down. Draw your heel and your knee toward each other and come on up. Lengthen here. And then as you exhale, straighten through that left leg and bring your hands to your hips, your thigh, the floor, and move with your breath there. Inhale to sweep up. Exhale to straighten your left leg and fold. Take our last exhale here. I'm going to grab my blocks behind me and bring them up to the top of my mat. Bend into that left knee. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Tuck your back toes. Lift your right knee. Really ground into your left heel. And then lift that right leg into your standing split. And your left knee can be bent as much as it needs to be. So you have the support of your fingertips on the floor underneath your shoulders. Bend both knees. Tap the back of your left calf with your right knee. And then lengthen everything. And then bend and tap. And then lengthen. Bend and tap. And then lengthen everything. Bend your left knee enough that you really feel stable through that left heel. Draw your right knee in towards your chest, and we'll come to standing balance on that left foot with your right knee in. You can get light on your fingertips. Come all the way up. Reach your arms high. Maybe lengthen. Right leg straight forward. And then pendulum. Swing that right leg back. Step back. Ground your heel. Bring your hands to your hips. Straighten through that left leg. And then just open your hips and close them. It's kind of back and forth. Open and close. Open your hips and then close them. Next time your hips are square, lead with your heart to fold. You can soften in this knee as much as you need to, so you've got integrity through your spine. Bring your hands to your thigh, hands to blocks or chair or the floor, and then find that same pivot of your hips here. Just kind of floss through those different strings of your hamstring. And then the next time your right hip point comes down, your hips are pretty square. You can let yourself fold over that left leg. Push down into your left big toe ball mount and draw your left outer hip back. Ground through your right heel and then lengthen out through the crown of your head. Soften into that left knee. Feel strong through the back of your left leg. Come on up to standing. And then turn toward that long edge of your mat. Heels in, toes out, and find your goddess here. And then just feel strong, really energetically, pushing your knees toward the wall behind you. Drop those low ribs and point your tailbone at the floor. And then just lift your right heel and drop it down. And then lift your left heel and then drop it down. And maybe lift both and drop it down. Sit a little bit lower and then come on up. Parallel your feet. This time reach your arms high. And then as you swim your arms down, come arms to a T, come halfway. And then lengthen your arms alongside your ears. So you're long from your tailbone out through the crown of your head, reaching forward, lift through your arches, and then soften your knees, let yourself fold all the way. And breathe here. And see if you can hear your breath. And rock a little bit of weight onto the balls of your feet. Lift all 10 of your toes. Lift through your arches and send your inner groin back. You can drop your toes down. Exhale your hands to your hips. Draw your elbows toward each other. Soften your knees. Come up to standing. Put my hood on with that fold. And then just heel toe your knees, your feet toward each other. So you just come to a comfortable Tadasana. And we'll come down for our holds. So have your blankets, your stack of blankets, blocks, couch pillows, and get ready for frog. So I'll show you from a couple of angles. I'm going to take my blanket that I have here and unfold it so that it's wide, so I can bring my knees wide. So I'm going to bring my knees out as wide as I can. Okay, and I'll show you from this way. And my knees are bent at a 90-degree angle, and my inner feet are on the floor, okay? And my knees are about in line with my hips. I'll bring my stack of blankets in front of me, okay? So this may take some experimenting, and that's okay. You'll just set yourself up so you can be comfortable. Well, as comfortable as this can be. Set yourself up so that you can relax into this stretch. So it doesn't feel like an emergency, but it feels like it's stretching something, okay? And it takes some concentration for you to relax through it. And then you can fold down onto your stack of blankets or pillows, and you've got some support under your torso. Now, it may feel good to have it up higher, so you could, I could take my blocks and stick them under here. Take a block or two under my bolster. Or you could make your pillows higher so it's a little bit higher. And then you can kind of push your tailbone toward your heels and relax through your shoulders. So you want to have enough support for your upper body that you can totally relax, okay, and be passive here once you get yourself set up. And think of those really long exhales. You don't have to find that constriction in the back of your throat to make a sound. But do find that sense of letting go with every long exhale. And if it gets too much, you can let yourself come out and move. But just notice if it's just the agitation of holding still. If you can just come to your breath and relax and allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you feel. Bring your awareness to any tension and see if you can let go with your exhale. Often it's not even the stretch that's intense, it's our resistance of it. So notice if there's any place where you start to feel some intensity and then you just instinctively resist that and grip against it. See if you can let go of that voluntary resistance. Let your exhales be twice as long as your inhale. If your head's to one side, Just look the other way. And let yourself feel heavier with your exhales. Go ahead and lift your head. Walk your hands back to the floor to push yourself up and bring your heels toward each other. And then come onto your hands and shimmy your knees toward each other. And then just sit back in a kneeling position for a couple of breaths. Kind of undo that big hip opener. And now we'll move into a forward fold, a seated forward fold. So I'm going to fold my blanket back up so I have it to sit on like I did at the very beginning of class. So I'll take my seat right to the folded edge of this, so my sitting bone's right there. And now I've got a block handy. I've got my bolster, so you can get your stack of towels or pillows. You could even do this with a chair. I don't want you to, so sit tall and then let your feet go. They can be like mat distance apart, just a little wider than hip distance apart. Sit so you can have your spine tall, and then we'll fold not to your maximum distance. So I've got this bolster I can use to prop my head up this way, or you could bring your stack of blankets to your legs. Maybe bring a block under your head or roll up a towel. I can take this folded blanket under my head. So find a place where you can support your upper body and your head in a passive forward fold that does not feel like your maximum stretch. So your legs can be straight, and then you can totally really relax yourself into it. And so you can find a place for your hands. You might rest them on your prop or just rest them alongside your legs. But we're just finding this passive opening on this whole back line of our bodies. And completely relaxing. So let your lower legs and your thighs spread on the floor underneath you. And let your exhale be twice as long as your inhale. Right, and you're just bringing yourself to this experience to feel it fully. And allowing yourself just to settle in because you're supported. Right, in this forward fold, your breath will naturally be a little more shallow, and that's okay. Don't feel like you have to really do a big expansion of your belly. You can think of breathing into your back body. And your feet are relaxed. Ankles, calves, knees and thighs are relaxed. Shoulders and arms are heavy, and your face is totally relaxed. And after an exhale, just go ahead and roll yourself up to seated. And then take your prop, bring the soles of our feet together, and then stack on top. So you've got a pretty big diamond here, okay? So stack of blankets, you could have your feet on a yoga block, okay? And this height of your feet kind of helps your pelvis get that anterior tilt. You can hold onto your ankles or toes, lead with your heart, and then let yourself just kind of round wherever you are. You don't need to be at the very edge of your capacity to stretch here. Got a big diamond, maybe like 18 inches from your pubic bone to your heels. And you can let your head hang. You could even, like we did earlier, stack things so you have a place to rest your forehead. But get yourself set up in a place where you just are supported. And so this could be even, you could have a folding chair or something with your feet underneath the chair and your forehead resting on the seat. I'll just be here for 2 minutes. And so you have plenty of time to set yourself up, and then plenty of time just to settle in. With that 4 count inhale. And 6 or 8 count exhale. And take one last really long exhale. And then let yourself come up and bring your legs off your props. And we'll set up for our final Shavasana, our final rest. And you have some options here, just depending on your space and what you have available. So I'm going to take this folded blanket and have it as a pillow. And then your stack of towels or pillow, you can bring them underneath your knees. So this is option 1. And then just use this to support the backs of your knees and your lower thighs. And then you can lay and have the fold of your pillow just right underneath your neck so that you're just totally supported here. So this is option 1, to have something elevating your knees and your thighs. And get your wiggles out so you really feel like your pelvis is supported. Option 2 would be to do legs up the wall or legs on a couch or something. So if you want to do that option, I'm going to take my stack of folded blankets or towels or your big pillow and bring it to the wall or right against the edge of the piece of furniture. And then right next to it, I'm going to bring my bum over, kind of in this little crouch, actually on top of it, on the edge of it. And then roll. Hips are on my prop and my legs are up the wall. So my hips are elevated. And then just let your legs go at a comfortable distance. Or they could be bent and just your shins or calves are on your couch. Wherever you are, just rock your head from side to side. And then let those rocks get smaller and smaller until your head is just perfectly balanced in its center. Relax your forehead and your eyes, your jaw, your tongue and your throat. Feel your shoulders really heavy on the floor underneath you and your collarbones spread. And feel the whole length and weight of your arms relax. And just notice how your fingers gently curve with the relaxation of your hands. And let your spine relax and your rib cage feel really heavy on the ground underneath you. And your belly soft. And feel the weight of your pelvis on the floor or your stack of blankets. And feel your thighs relax, your knees relax, your lower legs, your ankles, and your feet. And let your breath relax. Just really let yourself be in this state of receptivity, where you're aware and alert, but just marinating. nervous system to recalibrate and create some order because of the peace and the calm that you've cultivated throughout your whole body. Your fascial net, that webbing that encases everything under your skin, that wraps your muscles and your bones, that wraps your organs. It turns into tendons, right? It's just this connecting web. It's rich with nerve endings. It's like almost like an extension of your brain that's woven throughout your whole entire body. And your movement kind of wakes all of that up. And then your relaxation just allows your brain to be aware of more of you. As you just let yourself absorb. And process this day and your movement. If you have time, it would be great to stay here for longer. Whenever you're ready, bend knees. And just roll yourself off your prop onto your side. You can rest on your side for a breath or two. And then push yourself up. Maybe roll yourself right into bed. And from your seat, you can bring your hands to your heart. And just breathe. Some gratitude. The divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Namaste, friends. Thank you.